Historical architecture is an exercise in stacking mass. From the pyramids to the great cathedrals, we have traditionally added material from the ground up to conquer gravity. In the 8th century, at Ellora in central India, engineers encountered this sheer basalt cliff and planned a total inversion of that rule. They looked at the solid mountain and saw a finished temple already inside. Their task was to remove everything that wasn't the building. Construction here meant the permanent removal of stone. Every corridor, shrine, and courtyard was created by extracting material, leaving the remaining rock to serve as the structural support. This process makes empty space the primary building block. It is an engineering method where the voids define the architecture as much as the solid stone. Carving into a single massive rock is inherently risky. There are no joints or mortar to absorb a mistake. A fissure in a load-bearing pillar could cause a catastrophic collapse that cannot be repaired. To mitigate risk, the project used reverse architecture. The entire temple was carved from the peak downward. This required planners to map the complex's spatial geometry before the first chisel strike, visualizing every floor and hall layer by layer. The result is a feat of subtractive geometry, where the complexity of the design had to be perfectly reconciled with the physical limits of the mountain. At the summit, thousands of craftsmen began the first vertical cuts, initiating an excavation that would eventually drop over 100 feet into the bedrock. This initial phase focused on the removal of immense volumes of basalt. Laborers chipped away at the mountain's crust just to outline the temple's roof and upper shikara. They carved massive trenches around a central island of stone, isolating a monolith and creating the sheer vertical walls that enclose the complex. The work was exhausting. Thousands of tons of debris had to be hauled out by hand, while workers contended with constant dust and the rising heat trapped within the deepening stone pit. These initial cuts established the permanent boundaries for the entire site. Once the rock was removed to form these trenches, the maximum dimensions of the temple were fixed forever. As the excavation moved into the middle levels, the workers transitioned from clearing mass to shaping the load-bearing skeleton of the building. They worked against the dense volcanic basalt using only iron chisels and hammers, a battle of persistence where simple tools slowly wore down a mountain. This chipping continued for decades, spanning generations. The sound of hammers echoed through the valley, across seasons of drought and heavy monsoon rains. Carving the interior halls presented a massive engineering challenge. To hollow out a room, architects had to predict the exact thickness of the ceiling required to prevent the mountain from crushing the space below. Inside, heavy square pillars were left in place to support the ceiling. Every column is part of the original bedrock, never moved and never replaced. Because the structural integrity relied on what was left behind, the builders had to maintain a consistent architectural vision for over 80 years. Upon reaching the final ground level, the workforce shifted their focus to the most difficult sculptural elements of the entire project. At the base, they carved a continuous frieze of elephants. These figures are not just decorative, they are part of the monolithic foundation, appearing to carry the entire weight of the temple on their backs. Along the exterior walls, sculptors added layers of relief panels, covering the vertical surfaces with detailed narratives and geometric patterns. These base carvings demonstrate that the artisans maintained a high level of technical control throughout the descent, finishing the excavation with complex, well-proportioned figurative work. In the final stages, workers used abrasive stones to polish the surfaces and remove the marks left by the chisels, creating the smooth finish associated with traditionally built stone structures. When complete, a freestanding multi-story complex stood at the center of the pit, fully detached from the mountain, but still part of its roots. This chart shows the total volume of displaced material. Workers removed over 200,000 tons of basalt to create this temple. That number represents the immense scale of negative space created, the true measure of this engineering achievement. The temple stands as a clear record of the physical limits of manual excavation and the precision possible within a subtractive medium. As the hammers fell silent, the site transitioned from a construction zone into a functional center of worship and pilgrimage. The human scale is tiny compared to these monolithic structures. Looking up from the courtyard, The original cliff face reminds us of their starting point. The craftsmen treated the cliff as a sculpture, meticulously clearing away the mountain to reveal the structure within. The Kailasa Temple remains a testament to the power of generational labor, a monument released from the living rock, one strike at a time.